Russia hits Kyiv in a drone strike, wounding at least 9 civilians. It was the 19th air assault on the capital in October.
We saw a huge blast out the window.
The Russian Special Operations Forces University in the Chechen Republic caught fire after drones hit the main facility. Moscow commences nuclear drills, launching intercontinental ballistic missiles in its northernmost region. Hi, I'm Iva Kucherenko. This is United 24 Media. Russian forces launched their 19th air assault on Kyiv in October, targeting the city with strike drones and causing a fire in a residential high-rise building. At least 9 people were injured, including an 11-year-old child, reported the city military administration. Debris from a downed drone caused a 40-square-meter fire in a multi-story residential building in Solomynsky district, prompting the evacuation of 18 residents.
The morning began with us hearing the sound of a shot. We were in the next room and realized we had to run out of the room. When we approached the bathroom, we were almost there. We saw a huge blast out the window, followed by an explosion. My husband turned around and saw glass from the window shattering on the ground. We managed to hide in the bathroom just in time, right at that moment.
Kyiv city mayor stated that a kindergarten next to the house was also damaged. According to him, over 150 schools and kindergartens in the capital have been destroyed or damaged since the beginning of Russia's full-scale invasion. A historical administrative building as well as a medical institution and residential properties were damaged in the center of Kharkiv as Russia attacked the city with guided aerial bombs on Monday evening. According to the regional governor, at least 9 people were injured.
At 9 p.m., Russians hit Kharkiv's Shevchenkivsky district with an aerial munition. The central area of the city was hit, as well as an office building, which houses tens of different organizations.
This strike damaged several floors of the Держпром building, an iconic landmark of Ukraine's second-largest city. In September 2023, the UNESCO committee included it on the international list of cultural property under enhanced protection. At the time of its completion in 1928, Держпром was the largest skyscraper in the USSR and the second in Europe, standing at 108 meters with its antenna.
It is known in many countries around the world. Many guests come here to visit the building. We made a museum dedicated to the construction and reconstruction of the building after the previous war. It can be found in a lot of architecture literature around the world.
The building withstood destruction during German Nazi occupation in World War II, yet sustained damage during Russia's invasion of Ukraine in the 21st century. To follow the latest news from Ukraine, subscribe to our YouTube channel. The Russian Special Forces University in Russia's Chechen Republic was hit by drones. The head of the Chechen Republic reported on October 29 that one of the buildings of the military establishment came under fire in the early morning in Gudurmes, 30 kilometers away from the capital Grozny. This is the first report of a drone strike on the territory of the republic since the start of the full-scale invasion of Ukraine. In response, the Chechen leader Ramzan Kadyrov told the Russian state media that he ordered the pro-Russian Chechen units on the front lines to no longer capture Ukrainian defenders, rather to execute them on the spot. Meanwhile, sources from Suspilne media in the Ukrainian intelligence indicated that drone could have been launched from the territory of the neighboring Dagestan or Ingushetia regions. Explosions occurred in the temporarily occupied Luhansk, reported the head of the Luhansk Regional Military Administration Artem Lysogor. He stated on Facebook that local residents have been sharing videos of ammunition detonations since the morning. Lysogor suggested that the strikes hit a decommissioned military facility where Russian forces likely stored ammunition to supply the front line. The explosions in Luhansk were also confirmed by the head of the Center for Countering Disinformation, Andriy Kovalenko, who shared footage of the strike at the ammunition depot. A South Korean delegation will visit Ukraine later this week to provide insight into North Korean troops in Russia and discuss potential cooperation. According to the Yonhap news agency, this was announced by the South Korean President Yoon Suk-yeol. He also discussed the involvement of the DPRK military in the Russian invasion of Ukraine with the Ukrainian president. According to Zelenskyy, the two leaders had a phone call on Tuesday. Kyiv and Seoul agreed to enhance the exchange of intelligence and expertise and intensify contacts at all levels, to develop a strategy of action and a list of countermeasures in response to the escalation. Ukraine should strike back if North Korean troops cross into Ukraine, says US President Joe Biden, adding he was concerned about the presence of North Korean troops in the Kursk region in Russia. Later that day, on October 29, the Pentagon confirmed that a number of DPRK soldiers were already stationed in Kursk region, indicating the troop involvement to be an act of desperation.
This is an indication of the dire situation that Russia finds itself in terms of manpower on the front lines. They have experienced significant casualties in this war, and the fact that they now need to outsource for foreign troops to help support their forces inside Russia indicates that there's some serious questions in terms of their ability to continue to sustain their personnel requirements.
South Korean intelligence reveals that the majority of North Korean soldiers sent to Russia consist of 20-year-old conscripts, late teens among them. This data, including North Korean troop movement, was shared on Tuesday with the intelligence service, adding the DPRK soldiers should not be underestimated, as they likely underwent basic training in the special forces known as Storm Corps. Canada will host a special conference on the return of Ukrainian children abducted by Russia on October 30. This was announced by President Zelenskyy during a statement at the Nordic Council session. He underlined that the Ukrainian team and many of its partners will work on the matter of bringing back the Ukrainian children who were taken by Russia.
This is one of the most painful aspects of this terrible war. And we are talking about tens of thousands of children who were abducted by Russia from Ukraine's occupied territories. Forcing children from one nation into another and erasing their identities is clearly a genocidal practice. Russia has been doing this since the very beginning of the invasion. The International Criminal Court has already issued a warrant for Putin's arrest based on these actions.
During his address, Zelenskyy underlined the necessity of keeping pressure on Moscow, in particular with effective sanctions, and stopping Moscow's shadow tanker fleet, which funds Putin's aggression. In his first visit to Iceland, Zelenskyy arrived in Reykjavik on October 28 to take part in the 4th Ukraine-Nordic summit. He called on participants to invest in the Ukrainian production of munitions, long-range drones, missiles, and other weaponry. The prime ministers of Iceland, Denmark, Norway, Finland, and Sweden signed a joint statement reaffirming their support for Ukraine following the summit. Croatia is planning to send 30 of its M84 tanks and 30 M80 infantry fighting vehicles to the armed forces of Ukraine this year. This was reported during a joint press conference of the Croatian and German defense ministers in Berlin. In return, Zagreb will buy 50 new Leopard 2A8 tanks from Berlin at a reduced price.
I'm very grateful to my counterpart and to Croatia as a whole for their continued support for Ukraine and their clear commitment to joint coalition. Croatia has now agreed to hand over 30 main battle tanks and 30 infantry fighting vehicles from its own stocks. The first of these are to be handed over to Ukraine before the end of this year.
Russia prepares to commence tactical nuclear launch exercises. On October 29, the self-proclaimed president of Russia, Vladimir Putin, had a meeting with military heads to announce the start of test launches of intercontinental ballistic missiles. In particular, Yars, capable of carrying at least 4 warheads, or the submarine-launched ballistic missile Bulava developed for the Russian Navy. Target practice began in the northernmost region of Russia, launching several missiles at the test site near the island of Kamchatka, and is said by the regime to showcase operational readiness of the Russian armed forces to respond to foreign nuclear threats. This is it for today. We're United 24 Media. Thank you for being with us and see you on Friday.